you ready to go? Okay, good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m. It is Friday, March 10th.
Hey, buddy. Good morning.
And this is the Palm Beach County Planning Commission meeting, call to order. And may we have a roll call, Precious? Or Stephanie, whoever's got it.
Yeah, I think she's just finishing the setup.
Sarah Pardue.
Here. Present. Sorry.
John Carr.
Here.
Rick Stopik.
Here.
Barbara Roth.
Here.
Dagmar Bras.
Here.
Jay Nisberg.
Here.
Penny Pompey.
Present.
Sam Calindo.
Here.
Lori Vinegar.
Here.
Carly Harper Larson.
Here.
And Kerr Patel.
Here.
Angela Van.
Here.
David Searle.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you so much. Let's all please rise to pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have proof of publication?
We do.
Thank you so much. And I don't think we have any postponements or issues, so the agenda is approved. Consideration of minutes from the last meeting.
I'll motion to approve the minutes of February 10th.
Thank you, Lori. Second, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Anyone opposed? No. Okay. Any comments? We have no comments from the public on non-agenda items. We'll get to it later, but we have a lot of comments from the public on the items that are agended. We'll get to those, folks. There's a number of people that wish to speak. There's several people that indicated they did not wish to speak. If at any point that changes and you do wish to speak, please let someone know so we can move you to the other side of that column. As far as comments from the chair, just a couple. I want to extend our best wishes for recovery to Spencer Siegel. He was our chairman of the commission. He is elected to resign at this time due to some ongoing health issues. So we all do wish him well. And we welcome new member Sam Caliendo down at the end over here, formerly of the Zoning Commission. He had enough of that. So yeah, he's joining us here at Planning. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here. Look forward to serving.
Thank you. I believe as a matter of business, we need to elect a vice chair. Is that correct?
That's correct. According to Robert's Rules of Order, because of the resignation, the vice chair steps into the role of the chairman. So congratulations.
Stepping in and being the operative word.
Yeah. Understood. And so, yeah, we should probably have an election for a vice chair. So the way it should work is the nominations from the floor here, and then a vote.
Should that take place now or at the conclusion of the meeting?
I think we should probably do that now because usually the vice chair is the one who's responsible for the cards and keeping time. So
Fair enough. Okay. On advice of our council, I will entertain nominations for vice chair. Don't all rush.
May I?
Please.
I nominate Dr. Lori Vinegar for vice chair.
Thank you. I'll accept.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, nominations are closed. Let's just call it a voice vote then at that point. All in favor of Lori Vinegar, Commissioner Vinegar, ascending to vice chair, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll just
All right,
do
take
that.
care of that.
I can. Well, you know what? I guess I do because of the cards. I have to do because of the cards. Otherwise, I just sit here.
Thought I was being set up.
wasn't
me, was it?
Okay. What do we got? So these are... One moment, folks. Okay. So Non-speaking, whoops,
That's okay.
non-speaking, speaking, here we go. Okay, all right, now that we take care of that, let's move on to item 3A. One, this is the Biltmore Acres Lantana Rural Enclave overlay. May we hear from the applicant, please?
This is a county-initiated amendment, so there's no applicant.
Then we shall hear from the county only.
All right, and here we are.
All right.
Good morning, Jerry Lodge of the Planning Division. So this amendment is the Biltmore Acres Lantana Rural Enclave Overlay. There is no acronym. I am sorry. The intent of the amendment is to revise the future land use element in order to establish an overlay for an area in urban-suburban tier. Specifically, the amendment will add a newest sub-objective and related policies for the rural enclave overlay, and will also update the special planning areas map of the comprehensive plan map series to delineate the boundaries of the overlay. In 2018, the idea for creating rural enclave overlays was initially proposed by representatives of the Pioneer Road Property Owners Association at the BCC transmittal hearing for another county-initiated text amendment regarding residential future land use designations. The request originated from residents' concerns about development pressures within the Pioneer Road area. The board adopted Ordinance 2018-31, which implemented new policies in the plan recognizing that rural enclaves exist in the tier, and the low residential densities and agricultural uses within them contribute to the housing diversity and lifestyle choices within the county. The resulting policies from this ordinance also support the continuance and preservation of such areas by establishing a framework to create rural enclave overlays within the plan. In 2022, the county adopted its first rural enclave overlay for Pioneer Road area. So the Board of County Commissioners initiated this proposed amendment on September 22nd of last year with the intent of creating a rural enclave overlay that will support the preservation of the current character of the area. The proposed overlay is 331 acres and is located on the north side of Lantana Road and east of the Florida's Turnpike. Uses in the proposed overlay primarily consist of low-density residential and agricultural uses. Shown in this map is the proposed overlay identified by the red outline. The blue outline you see there on the south and east portion of the proposed overlay is a separate amendment in process named Lantana Road Residential. That amendment is a privately proposed, site-specific future land use atlas amendment that is proposing to change the future land use on 18 acres from low residential 1 unit per acre to low residential 2 units per acre, in addition to density bonuses to develop 104 townhomes. The Lantana Road Residential Future Land Use Amendment is not the subject of this text amendment, and it was recently postponed by the applicant. Future land use designations within the proposed overlay are essentially split with LR1 to the east and LR2 on the west. There are approximately 452 parcels on 331 acres in the overlay, which equates to an average lot size of just under 3/4 of an acre. Surrounding the overlay are low, medium, and high residential future land uses, in addition to a commercial low office flue on the southwest corner of Lantana Road and Hagen Ranch Road. There we go. The proposed sub-objective and policies for this amendment are derived from the successful implementation of the Pioneer Road Rural Enclave Overlay and builds on an established foundation of existing policies which have been previously reviewed and approved by the board. In addition, the proposed policies for this amendment will create a framework for additional rural enclave overlays to be added in the future should the board adopt any. First is the sub-objective, which you see here, and it defines the purpose of the rural enclave overlay as recognizing the low-density residential character of communities within the urban-suburban tier that contribute to a diversity of lifestyles and promotes the continuation of existing agricultural uses. The proposed boundaries for the Biltmore Acres Lantana Rural Enclave Overlay are defined as Lantana Road to the south, the Fountains Country Club and Golf Course to the east, Lake Worth Drainage District L14 Canal to the north, and a residential community known as Countrywood on the west. In addition to this policy, the boundaries of the overlay will be added to the Special Planning Areas map of the Comprehensive Plan Map Series. This policy allows additional rural enclave overlays to be adopted should the board desire by only requiring this policy to be updated with the name of any future rural enclave overlay in addition to updating the Special Planning Areas map, and they'll live in order right underneath of A, B, C, etc. Lastly, I'd like to point out that the overlay boundaries are at the discretion of the board and may be adjusted prior to adoption. The residential densities policy will require that any request to increase residential density on property within the overlay, which requires approval by the Board of County Commissioners, must be approved by at least 5 members of the board. The requirement for supermajority approval by the board ensures greater consensus and provides an additional layer of protection to the community, and it does not affect current development rights or existing uses. Applicable requests include but are not limited to future land use amendments, rezonings, workforce housing program density bonuses, and transfer of development rights. The proposed policies also encourage the continuation of existing agricultural uses and the retention of native vegetation. So staff's analysis finds the proposed overlay will support the preservation of the low density residential and agricultural character of the area, contributing to the diverse lifestyle and housing choices supported by the plan. Staff finds the overlay furthers the relevant goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan and is consistent with all applicable policies. In addition, a large majority of responding property owners are in favor of the proposed overlay. Staff has conducted extensive outreach since this item was initiated this past September. First, we created a web page on the Planning Division's website specifically for the overlay. The website included background information, data, and maps, and it was regularly updated to include hearing dates, links to informational meetings, which we held 2 of, and other information that was updated as needed. So planning staff also sent 2 notices by mail to all property owners in the overlay. The most recent notice included today's public hearing date, a draft of the proposed map and policies, which we just went over, and a comment form that could be sent back indicating support or opposition to the proposed overlay. And now we'll go over their responses. So staff has been actively collecting comments and declarations of support or opposition up until 12 p.m. yesterday. And overall, the community has been very active and provided a large amount of feedback regarding the proposed overlay. We have received a petition with 145 signatures in support. We have also received comment forms from 123 property owners, representing a 29% response rate. Of those, 117 have expressed support for the overlay, representing 95% of the responding property owners. Staff recommending approval, and the motion before you is to recommend approval.
Very good. Thank you so much. We appreciate the presentation. Okay. Any of my fellow commissioners have any questions for staff? I'll start down with Dagmar and work our way down to this direction.
The parcel that is on Lantana and Fernley, it's the northeast corner. You had mentioned they want to go from LR1 to LR2 as far as residential is concerned. LR2 doesn't sound terrible, but when you start adding TDRs and workforce housing and all kinds of stuff like that, what is the potential density on this piece of property?
Right now, their application shows about 6 units per acre.
About 6 units, and those would be apartments, townhomes?
They're townhomes proposed.
They are townhomes for sale. And how does that work? Does this parcel need to have the 5 out of 7 commissioners approve it?
So right now, that parcel is located within our proposed boundaries. And so if this gets adopted prior to that going to hearing, again, it's a timing issue that we had with the Heritage Farms overlay. It would then require the vote of 5 members, an affirmative vote of 5 members.
Okay, and we don't know who's going to get to that finish line first.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Next.
No questions.
Very good. Penny? Nothing. Okay. Ankur?
For the informational meetings that you conducted, do you have an attendance record for that?
I believe we have some note.
You can't hear the question.
Oh,
Is your microphone on?
Can you hear me now? Yeah. So wrong. Sorry. For the informational meetings that were conducted, what was the attendance?
I don't believe we had a lot of response at the informational meetings. Jerry, it was like probably less than a dozen?
We had less than a dozen. We had, I believe, applicant for Lantana, the second one, the site-specific mentioned. But at the meeting, informational meeting, it was held virtually, but we did receive the petition is when we received that. So that was indicated by one of the more active residents that was kind of consolidating a lot of the voices in the community.
Okay. No more further questions.
Sure. No? Barbara?
Yes, thank you. Just to clarify, you mentioned 95% positive response, so that was in feedback from what you mailed out, as opposed to attendance at meetings.
Right, yeah, that's,
Correct.
we mailed out to all property owners, and that's the response based
And
on
that
that.
positive was 95%.
Correct.
Thank you.
Is it? Yeah. I'll start down the other end there. Sam? Okay. Callie? Angela? Nothing there?
No questions.
Okay. Lori?
No questions.
Okay, good. All right. At this point, let's take entertain a motion, and then we can get into, well, do
Well,
comments
public
first.
comment.
Do the comment cards first?
Yes,
All
do
right,
the
we have
public
discussion
comment
first. All right, let's do the public comment cards.
According to the lawyer.
That's fine.
Okay. Did you want to call out the names, or did you want me to?
We can do it. Well, we have
Okay.
several that are in support but do not wish to speak. You want to read their card? We're going to want to read these into the record.
No, they're part of the record now. You don't need to read them in.
Very good.
And do we need to say, tell the names of all of the ones that say they support it, but they're on the but they don't want to speak?
No, I don't think that's necessary. These are now part of the record.
Okay.
So there's two lecterns, and the one on your left, the first person can go to, and the other one, the second person that we call. Okay? The first one, Richard Grosso, please come and state your name and your address. The other one, Raymond August, and it looks like Urias to the other side.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Richard Grosso, 6919 West Broward Boulevard, down in Plantation, Florida. I'm here speaking on behalf of Ms. Carol Reeve and Ms. Chris White, who are residents of the area. I had previously sent to this board a set of comments. We very much support this enclave. We have asked you to support it after making changes that we have submitted in very, very specific strike-through underline format. I sat on a planning commission for many years down in Broward County. I've done planning law, land use law for 30 years in Florida, and feel very strongly that, number one, these kind of site-specific overlays are really excellent planning. They're really smart. You should do them. In particular, because as we are growing out in South Florida, we're running out of land. And the need to make the most appropriate land use decision for every particular area of a county gets more important every day. That's why an overlay is really smart. But for that same reason, being really clear and really specific about what the rules are going to be going forward becomes more important as the community builds out. And that's why we feel strongly that the language we have offers a clarity that actually, when your planners and you and the county commission are applying the plan in the future, it's clear what the rules are. Words like encourage and that kind of thing, I could tell you, when push comes to shove, are pretty meaningless. It gives you nothing to work with. It gives county planning staff and the BOCC nothing to work with. That kind of language is nice, but it doesn't really have a meaningful impact. And so the clarity we have asked you all to add into this language, I think, matters in terms of, really, is this going to do the job that it's intended to do, which is protect this particular area going forward to keep its character that it has right now in the face of what is obvious development pressure in this county. This county has very clear rules in general about infill development and not in protecting these quickly vanishing, unique, special areas. And the reason you're doing something like this is to make that a reality. And I feel very strongly that the language we have asked you to consider to put in the amendment before you adopt it and send it off to the BOCC is what's necessary to make this really a meaningful planning action going forward, that it tells landowners clearly what the rules are. It tells your staff and you and the county commission really what the rules are. So we would ask very much that one of y'all make a motion to amend the proposal as we have suggested. And the last thing I want to say is, I've been able to speak with staff a few times over this. They have been extremely courteous, extremely helpful, and I really appreciate the professionalism that they have brought to this, appreciate their effort and their proposal, but we feel strongly that the language needs to be improved before it becomes part of the comprehensive plan in this county. I appreciate very much the opportunity to speak, be very happy to answer any questions. I have one more thing I want to say. I have seen concerns raised that somehow doing this overlay in whatever fashion is an intrusion on private property rights. I claim to know very little, but I do know private property rights law in Florida very well, and it is not. There has never been a property right to change the land use plan, to increase what you have.
Okay.
And that's, so you're not violating any property rights by adopting this language into the plan.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Just remind him it's 3
Why don't we
minutes.
wait till we get done? Yeah.
Just to be reminded, it's 3 minutes.
Yeah, it is a 3-minute rule for public speaking.
Okay, can Victor Pignata go to the other lectern, please?
Yeah. Okay. Sir.
Hi, good morning. My name is Raymond Urias, and I'm a property owner at 5443 3rd Road. I would like to first and foremost thank you guys and all being in attendance for this important meeting. 3 years ago, during the pandemic, everyone decided the best decision was to move out of a city and into a rural area. I guess we forgot. 3 years seemed like yesterday. Palm Beach County has been aggressively expanding, and this is reducing the natural habitat and is posing significant risk for local wildlife. And this is something that needs to be addressed. 441 continues to expand. Lyons is becoming overpopulated. And now you have Garcia High School that is not even built, and it's already over capacity. And now you want to add additional homes to the area. While an impact fee may seem like an easy way for an investor to say we can cover the cost, the long-term cost is going to exceed what Palm Beach County can handle. That will increase in law enforcement, increase in fire, increase in schools, increase in medical facilities that are already at capacity. We need to protect and preserve these areas that we have here because agriculture is going away at an expedited rate. And this is something that we kindly ask that you guys support this legislation going forward so we can protect the residents of the area. I also want to say that this has gone on for a long time, and you guys have a chance to get to that finish line before anybody else and continue to protect all these residents that are here to voice their opinion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Chris White.
Yeah, my name is Victor Pignata. I moved into Fernley Road.
And state your address, please, for the record.
5268 Fernley Road, Lake Worth, Florida.
Thank you.
I moved into Fernley Road in August of 1987, so I've been there 36 plus years. Right. Over that time, there's been 3 challenges to this property, to this area, about putting commercial development in. The first 2 we were successful in turning down. I mean, the second one, they spared no expense. They took us to Dunkin' Donuts and fed us coffee and donuts and tried to explain what they were going to do the whole time to this thing. Well, they turned it down because of the overwhelming opposition to it. This third one, it seems the person went out and bought the property first, right? And then didn't do any due diligence about what people wanted to do, what this property was there before. And I find that unacceptable. I mean, if you and I went out and bought something with a piece of property and you knew that it was agriculture and you didn't want to keep the agricultural going on, then you would be at fault. And that's what's happening here. These people have bought 3 lots or 3 properties now in this area with the idea of sooner or later developing them. And I don't think that's correct. Secondly, just a point of matter, back in September of 1972, my wife and I were returning from Lion Country Safari. We decided to come down Lantana Road, and on our left-hand side, coming back to I-95, right, we saw a sign that said 3 and 5 acre lots, Fernley Real Estate. And little did we know 15 years later that we would be living there. So that's all I have to say. I approve this enclave, and I definitely hope you can give us some support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris White didn't hear me because of the applause. We don't have applause here, really. Okay, Chris White.
Yes. Good morning. My name is.
Just one, and the other lectern, Raymond and Urias. And I know there was a Raymond that spoke before with a similar last name, but it's a different address. Oh.
It's a very old one.
Yeah. Okay.
This way. Thank you.
I live on Fernley Road,
I'm sorry.
Right.
It seems redundant, but we need your address for the record, please. If you could just state your address for the record.
My name is Chris White.
Yes.
Okay.
And your address. Close enough.
This area is a very special and a very unique area. It is very rural, and it's also residential. It is beautifully filled with trees and all sorts of animals that are natural animals and also domesticated animals. It is an area that needs to be preserved. Healing through hooves and handstands is on my farm, and I use my horses to help autistic children and adults. They ride, and it helps them in their life. It also provides a place for young volunteers to help with these autistic people, and they learn about themselves through helping with these autistic children riding the horses. Learning how to help provides an important learning tool. I have owned this farm for over 30 years. Let's keep a rural overlay, no development. The farm areas need to stay without development of multi-housing, apartments, and condominiums. We want horses, not houses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol, it's Reival, perhaps? Carol, 5714 Fernley Road, if you can come up there. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. First of all, let me thank you for being
I'm sorry.
present
Name and address, please.
and being here.
Sir.
I will give it to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Raymond Urias Sr. The address where we live is 5375 Third Road. And basically, the reason why I'm here is because attempts have been made in the past to restructure the area where we live. This is not the first one, and it's not going to be the last one, because obviously people need more housing. But there has to be a plan, and you're already working on it, and you're doing a great job. I might say that you guys are doing a great job simply because we have foresight. We have people that have come before us to have this idea of protecting and preserving. We support build more acres in Lantana Road enclave. Why we support it? We moved in 1984 from an area that was very dense. The noise was incredible, and everything was different to what it appealed to us. We came to this place, this community, in 1984. The result of us coming was a beginning of a new life. We hear in the spring birds chirping, butterflies flying. We see things that otherwise we have to go to a park or a museum. We chose to do it because it was best and better for us. But at the same time, people around us come into our community and they would like to emulate it. Unfortunately, density is a requirement of society, but we have to be careful. We have to be very careful. And the job that you guys are doing is commendable, obviously, as long as you support what we support. We found the ideal living respecting all of the surrounded communities. Mind you, there are already enough density around us. It's like we have a little bit of a jungle in the midst of an urban metropolis. Okay, they respect us, and we respect them. We live in a community, not just us, but everybody around us. There are plenty of areas to build, and that's according to a plan. So we ask respectfully that you guys endorse the enclave and keep it the way it is.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Okay.
Jeremy Larkin.
Okay. Ma'am, please state your name and address.
Yeah, it's Carol Reeve, and I live at 5714 Fernley Road. I kind of made a little speech here, so I wanted to thank the planning staff and Jerry Lodge for all the hard work, and Commissioner Kerner's office and our new commissioner, Mr. Barnett, for instituting this. Our neighborhood was initially platted as an agricultural community in 1969 by Joe Fernley, adjacent to Biltmore Acres, and it included Lantana Flower Farm's nursery property, which is the one that's dotted in blue, that runs behind my property. In fact, I have a copy of the original sales pamphlet for the lots that Vic Pignato was referring to. Our neighborhood predates the comprehensive plan, and our community paid to have the roads paved, and we signed them over to the county under the Courtesy Maintenance Program Agreement. On my road, we're still on well and septic, and there's no street lights. We're truly rural. I'm the new neighbor, and I've been there for 20 years, with the exception of one or two that have moved in recently, one of which escaped displacement from a similar community on Haverhill Road that was taken over by developers, and he came to our neighborhood trying to emulate the same thing. Our neighborhood is comprised of nurseries, fruit growers, a riding school, an equestrian program for autistic children. I run a 501(c)(3) as a horse rescue and sanctuary, and do research with veterans for PTSD. We are the area's green space where many people walk, cycle, sightsee with their children to see animals, horses, the pigs, the ducks. We are 70% of the workforce in our community, with a scattering of retirees and a few seasonal people and rentals. Many independent businesses rely on their space at home to park their work truck, such as pest control, tree services, mobile mechanics, glass installers, and the occasional lawn truck. Several have small daycares and pet sitting businesses, and even home bakeries, which would otherwise be prohibited in the HOA community. We have police, nurses, firefighters, and many other professions, and all of us chose this neighborhood for what it had to offer. And we hope that you endorse and vote yes for the boundaries as the planning staff wrote them. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
David, and this is a little difficult, K-A, and it might be Y-I-L or L-I-L, 5407 Fernley Road.
Sir, please.
Jeremy Larkin. I live at 5545 Second Road. Me and my mom are in support of the enclave, but we'd like an amendment to the policy 1.2.8B. And we would like to take it from the county charter that says the voluntary annex of a municipality. We'd like it to where you guys could make it where a majority of all the residents, plus the 5 members of the commission, agree on any future land uses. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you.
Erica Lucas.
Okay. Sir, please.
My name is David Khalil. I live at 5407 Fernley Road. I moved there 30 years ago. Moved there in 93. And I moved from Palm Springs. I was born and raised in West Palm Beach. And I moved out there. At the time it was out there. I moved out there for a reason. The reasons were we had horses, wanted the horses in the yard. My wife took me out there. We drove at 9 o'clock at night down to the end of the road because she knew a guy that had a house for sale. I drove to the end of the road, turned around, drove right back by the house, and we moved out there. I never even looked at the house. I wanted to live in that type of an area. And mainly because we had horses, there's cows, there's chickens, there's pigs, there's hawks, there's all kinds of wildlife on our street. This is the 3rd time that we've been in front of county commissioners trying to fight off the builders. At some point, when does it end? Why can't they just leave a little area, which there's few areas like ours. There's Pioneer Road, there's White Feather Road. There's maybe 6 roads in our whole county that are like ours. And every time we turn around, there's builders wanting to put high density, 2 and 3 stories, townhouses on this one little 15-acre piece of property. This piece of property was drawn up with all the other property on Colbright, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Road from Joe Fernley. This was his vision back in the 70s to have a neighborhood set aside like this, not to have 0 lot line everywhere. And so far, we've been lucky with county commissioners like you that look at it from our side. But what happens 5, 10 years down the road when we have county commissioners like we used to have, which some went to jail, that are in with the builders? And they get kickbacks and all the hanky-panky that goes on. So thank God we have good county commissioners right now, because that could change and our lifestyle will change. And this is one of the few places in this county like this. And a few of you have been out to our road to see what it's like. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Susan Pauly. I can't hear. Susan, there you go.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, please.
Hi, I'm Eric Lucas, 5589 Fernley Road. I moved here 20 years ago with my horses, and I was also involved in fighting the other people that wanted to develop the area, that come in, that say they want to keep it agricultural, and then turn around and try to sneak in their agenda. I'm sure all of us hit a lot of traffic coming here today, so we all know that there's a lot of overpopulation in this area. It took me an hour and a half to get home from work the other night. It should have taken me 20 minutes. I understand that in time, we always have to deal with change. That's part of life, change. In this case, we want to change to protect something. Let's change the rules to protect an area. I have a horse farm where I teach children how to ride. I had a dream that I'm going to take these children from all walks of life, broken families, growing up with the inability to speak for themselves, no confidence, no social abilities, bad grades in school, no confidence again. And they come here, and all of a sudden, they're talking, and they have friends, and they have confidence. They're doing better at school. They have goals. They become compassionate to others. They learn to take care of the animals. I've been here so long that many of my students have grown up. Some of them are competing at WEF in the highest levels. Some of them have families and children of their own. None of them have forgotten. Many of them are, and I would say some of them are in the military, all success. So what does this do? What we do is we train our young folk to be leaders, future leaders. And it all starts with our little farm, our little green space. And these people on the corner that want to change it, they can develop too. But let's let them develop 1 home per acre. Keep it and raise the value of our properties, not lower the value of our properties. So I hope you all will vote yes to help us keep this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda Smith.
Ma'am,
Okay.
please.
Good morning. I was going to say the entire situation should be a moot point.
Ma'am,
I'm sure you're
please
from.
state your name and address.
Oh,
for
I'm
the record.
sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Susan Pauly, 10865 Barn Road in Lake Worth, Florida, 33449. I'm from Heritage Farms. We just went through all this stuff. Anyway, the entire situation should be a moot point. I'm sure you're all familiar with future land use element 2.2.1-P, but for those who aren't, let me read as part of it to you. Anyway, it says it supports the continuation of rural areas in order to encourage a high quality of life and lifestyle choices for county and residents. And right now there is a very thin dividing line between industrial growth and Palm Beach County, in this case Lantana Road, and the diminishing and contracting rural areas like Heritage Farms and Biltmore Acres. They need your help in protecting these rural enclaves. The Commission's legacy has established that they are constantly being laid siege to by the ever-increasing and rapidly advancing force of greedy developers who care nothing for the future of Palm Beach or the lives of people like the lady who was just up here that they run over. So please pass this overlay and encourage, if you can, the Board of County Commissioners to do so as well. Thank you, really. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paula Rosa.
Okay. Ma'am, please.
Linda Smith, 17976 Via Rio, Jupiter, Florida, speaking on behalf of the Sierra Club Loxahatchee Group. You may be surprised to see me here today. I usually only make the 30-minute drive down here to speak about saving Palm Beach County's agricultural reserve areas. But this is very similar. Folks in Biltmore Acres are trying to do the same thing. The zoning rules when people buy their property have been set. There is no obligation to a private individual for a privately initiated amendment, in my opinion. I'm here to add my support to the Biltmore Acres residents who are just trying to protect themselves from more development. I support the staff's recommendation, and I believe I would support Richard Grosso's clarifications on face value because I respect his opinion. I have not had the opportunity to review them. You guys have, and I leave that up to you guys. But please approve the Rural Enclave overlay, support the preservation of the current character of the area, encourage agricultural uses, retention of native vegetation, with requiring a supermajority of the 5 board members to approve any increase in density. I don't see what's not to support in this amendment. I support smart development in the urban-suburban tier near transportation hubs and essential services. This should be a slam dunk for the Planning Commission. Please approve the overlay. I yield my time and enjoy the cookies.
Thank you.
Catherine Erhard.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Paula Rosa, and I live on 5403 3rd Road. I'm here to support the overlay. I'm fairly new resident there at this location. Just so you know, I think me and my husband were 33 when we purchased a home there, the lot, and it's a little over an acre. We used to drive it. We drove it there maybe 2 years before we purchased the house because this was a place we found. We really wanted to grow, and we were looking for a home from Broward, from Sunrise, all the way up to Okeechobee to find exactly this. What people that have been living there for over 30 years that they saw, and that vision, that's the kind of vision that me and my husband had, that we want to have for the next 30 years or so for, our retirement. So we purchased this home. We found it after 2 years. We thought, let's have kids in this type of environment. We're such a close-knit community. Everyone knows each other here in this community. We have parties together. We celebrate together. We want to keep it the way it is. When we purchased the property there, I thought Palm Beach Farms. So me and my husband, we thought my husband came from farm life, so we thought we can have chickens. That was the biggest thing for us. We want to have a horse. Hopefully, eventually, we want to get a horse. We just had a baby. She's 2 years old. But we were giving our chickens real organic food. I would buy real veggies, give it to my chickens, and eat that type of egg every single day. But then a neighbor, because I'm right on a lot where it's a heavy, dense community, right behind it, they called us out. When they called us out, I thought I got a letter from the county here saying I needed to take my chickens away. And I thought, hold on. I thought that I moved into a farmland. And the first thing you think is I can have chickens. I can grow my own food. so I have no chickens anymore. My little baby, I had to get rid of my chicken 6 months ago. And my baby, I have videos of her being raised with the chickens. Till this day, we go out in the backyard and she goes like, caw, that's how she calls the chickens. And she still calls out for the chickens. So I really appreciate if we could keep it the way it is. If I can have my chickens back, that would be nice. Maybe 6 chickens. Because when you think of a farm, to me, that's what I think of, chickens and goats. I wish I could have a little bunny, a little goat, eventually a horse. But, and I feel really bad for that other overlay that they're trying to build townhomes. That's completely blows my mind. That, I think that's Fern Road, and our neighbors here, they spoke out. They have horses. It's going to happen the same thing that happened to me. These people are going to start complaining about the noise. Well, it's a farm. It's farmland. Let's keep it this way, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Amanda Johnston.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kathy Earhart, and I live on Second Road. I just want to tell you that this area that's being mapped out is a very beautiful area. I don't know if any of you have been there. It's very beautiful, and we all want to keep it that way. It's very supportive of a healthy environment, healthy lifestyle for everybody. But I am disturbed by the language of what's being planned. And I'm curious, what is the old policy? I'm sorry. What is the old policy? I mean, I'm just reading this proposal, and it's saying it encourages low residential densities within the enclave. Can we change it to require? I think that's what's gonna help keep the environment as it is. So then, if it's just encourage, I'm afraid that doesn't really support the community. It's just, when you say encourage, that's very weak. If you would like to please support us, I think it should be required. Because as it is right now, I think what's going to happen is our community is going to become like a higher residential density area. And let me see. The zoning is going to get changed. There's going to be a transfer of development rights. And I guess we're going to build a workforce housing program, whatever that is. I mean, I can support it if maybe we are not being threatened with a higher density population. And at the same time, the young gentleman who spoke at the start of the meeting, I guess he said 123 out of 425 property owners responded to the questions. That's not even half of the people who live in the community. I think for any change or proposal or amendment to be made, I think you need to at least have a super majority, because we are talking about lives, livelihood, and the future of our community. We are a community. We are one. I mean, we really are thankful for your presence here, the county commissioners, and we hope you will support us in having more clear. This is not very clear at all from what is being presented to us. I mean, what is the old policy?
Okay.
Please.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Sheila Calderon.
Yeah, please.
Hi, Amanda Johnston. I live at 5936 First Road. I have lived in the neighborhood for 34 years. I've also lived at 7387 Seabreeze Drive. My father and mother lived in 5936 First. When they decided to leave and move out of state, I decided to buy my childhood home. I've always loved living there. I grew up there. my children are growing up there, and I hope that their children's children grow up there. There was a time that we thought about moving out of state, but I can tell you the only reason we live here is because of that neighborhood. We fully support the overlay enclave, and I hope that you can choose the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly Brown.
Good morning. Sheila Calderon, 2807 Waters Edge Circle, Green Acres, Florida. That's the place I live. We need to protect the area as a natural area and allow for agriculture, wildlife, domesticated animals, etc. We cannot continue to impose development on these areas. There are additional concerns as this will create the need for additional services as well as schools, fire departments, and expansion of roads, etc. Roads that we know are already getting to the point where, as somebody said earlier, it took them an hour and a half to get home for a 20-minute drive. I have found similar situations. Clearly, there are concerns by the residents here today that should be recognized, and I hope you all do, and please approve the overlay, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Ma'am?
My name's Kelly Brown, on 5574 3rd Road, and like everyone else, I waited 2 years to find a house to move in to this area back in 2000, so we really wanted to live there. A concern of mine is at that intersection where the proposed development is also a crossing for the elementary school. It's a very, very busy intersection, and my kids rarely walk to school because I did not feel comfortable, even though there's crossing guards. It's a very, and then adding a huge development, I think, would really affect that crossing going to Coral Reef Elementary. All our kids go to that school. Mine are grown now, but they did. And then that property as well used to be a farm that used organic practices, and it kind of seems a waste now that it would become a development where it's nice, clean land for farming. And I'm sure somebody would love to farm there. But that's, besides what everybody else said, that's what I had to add.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay. I think that concludes all of the public comment cards. At this point, if any of my fellow commissioners would like to make a motion on the pending matter.
Could we discuss?
Well, first we get the motion.
I'll motion to approve staff's recommendations.
Second.
As written.
Second. Very good. Now we can have some discussion. Let's start down at this end here. Sam? Sally?
Good morning. I really am encouraged to hear a discussion of essentially agricultural homesteading and all of the charitable activities that are going on in this area and the support of rural lifestyles. And there is a fit in our county. Isn't it wonderful, commissioners, to see this outpouring of people who live in the community and they want to keep it that way? But I think as we stand here on the dais, just in the discussion, one of the things that I wanted to inquire with the staff is we had some very interesting points made by citizens. How actionable is the term encouraged based on previous overlays, which you guys have to administrate, versus the terms of permit, allow, and require? In my previous experience professionally, because I help administrate policies and procedures and different compliance activities, the term encouraged tends to get us nowhere. But the terms that are in place, like allow, require, and permit, give more structure to future practices.
Angela?
No comment.
Is that a question?
Oh, you did want us to respond. Okay.
Was it a question?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, if I may, so we very much appreciate all the feedback and community participation. Thank you. So we very much appreciate all the feedback and community participation. What I can say in summary is the recommendation that staff has provided is still currently staff's recommendation without getting into the nuances of the specific language that was recommended. If it's the pleasure of the Planning Commission to recommend specific amendments to the BCC, that's your purview and pleasure to do so. But at this point in time, staff would still like to move forward with the language that we have presented and recommended to the Planning Commission.
Yeah, if I may follow up, Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask the Deputy Director why.
Could you expand more
Well,
on
why are you, I mean, having heard what we heard,
Sure.
why would your staff not consider the amendments that we heard this morning? I mean, I was taken by those, and I'm just curious as to why you wouldn't be a little more
Sure.
flexible to go back to the drawing boards and consider getting it the way the citizens are recommending it.
So staff is comfortable with the language as proposed because it's following an almost identical format as previous overlays that have been adopted. So we kind of have that framework and blueprint to work from. Additionally, we don't want to, I guess, provide language that limits the BCC's decision-making power at a future date. So again, if it's up to the Planning Commission's purview to...
Please.
No, it's okay. Let's... Please.
The Planning Commission can make any recommendation you so choose, but staff would like to stay with the current proposal and provide that information.
If I may, Mr. Chair, follow up. And maybe it's a question for the attorney, or maybe it's a question for yourself. If we would like to encourage the staff to go back and modify for more specific language, how does that happen?
Well, I think what we could do at this point is if someone wants to amend the motion, we could go a couple of ways, I would imagine. I suppose we could either withdraw the pending motion and offer an amended motion, or what would be your preference?
You could just do a substitute motion to send us back, but I mean that's just gonna take time.
Slow it down.
Yeah.
But
so if I may add some response to what Jeff said, is that the proposed language here, a comprehensive plan is a policy document.
Right.
It is a document that lays out goals, objectives in broad terms. It's a broad planning document for the county. The proposed language is essentially establishing what are almost like standards of approval for zoning development. So these proposals, while they are certainly would accomplish the limits that they're looking for, they're not appropriate for a comprehensive plan. In addition, it opens up in addition to taking away the discretion of the Board of County Commissioners, it also opens up the Board of County Commissioners of the county as a whole to comprehensive plan challenges in this area should at some point they approve an amendment. Then the chances of somebody coming in and challenging it grow immensely based on this language. So from the county's perspective, we feel that the language proposed by staff is appropriate and accomplishes the goal of keeping this community rural in character.
Okay.
Words matter, and I completely understand what you're saying, and my background follows your logic. But I also understand the appeal to something tighter. It's how many times do they want to kick the can down the road? How many times do we want to go back to the drawing board? How many times do we want to ask people who have something very unique? And I understand exactly what the commissioner's point was here and others, but I just need to think deeper before I vote in terms of what their life is like, and that's what we all think about, and the staff is fabulous. I mean, I've read everything that I've received, and I think you all do a phenomenal job, but sometimes people like that security that, you're not going to mess with us down the road. I speak from experience. I've been messed with before myself, and we know change is inevitable, but I just need to think harder on the words and the language and how it impacts what you're trying to put forward. And Council, I completely understand what I think what you're saying, and I get it. It's just a matter for me of how specific we want this to be. And I often say sometimes you can write language that's so tight it can end up hurting you also. And that's so I see both sides of that discussion, but I also see the empathy that your staff recommendation is trying to accomplish for the citizens that are here today and those that are not here today. So I think we have a little soul searching to do in terms of how we want to deal with that, with the language in this particular recommendation. That's all I have to offer, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I have some comments as well. I'll reserve them until the fellow commissioners have spoken. John?
Yes, first, growing up down there, moving to Lawrence Road in 1974 and being surrounded by orange groves and farms, there was nothing like growing up. So I can appreciate everybody's comments today. Sometimes I cringe when I drive down Lawrence Road now, remembering my childhood where there wasn't all the growth. I guess my question to the planning directors, was there any language that maybe we could put in there that is, I guess, how can we be more, the word I'm trying to find here is, how can we come to a consensus? Right? Maybe not have that exact language in there that they're looking for, but something a little more concise for them?
May I? No?
Some compromise? Yeah.
In terms of consensus, as we showed on the previous slides, there's a 95% approval, vote of support from the community. And in terms of the language, there's 2 points I'd like to make. So the residential densities policy states it has to go to before the Board of County Commissioners to be effective. So it needs 5 votes from them. So these policies will be in the plan, and similar to all the other policies that we cite within staff reports and present to you at Planning Commission, if this is adopted, it'll come back and be before you if anything within the overlay comes forward with a proposal. So these will be within the plan, and that's how we'll use them. And that's all I had, actually. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, I think that's all my questions, but we do appreciate all the residents coming out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. This,
sorry, right now it's...
right now, I'm going to make my comments. Well,
excuse us.
Some people had mentioned about the roads. There are only a few of these roads in the county like that, and I happen to live on one of them, La Reina Road, and there's El Paraiso Place, very, very similar to this. I am up and down Fernley Road very, very, very often. I grow tropical fruit trees, and I have horses. And I go, of course, to Richard and Linda Wilson's Excalibur Acres, a most wonderful, wonderful nursery, especially since the citrus crops are so fraught with issues, several diseases, that using different tropical fruits and fruit trees that nurseries such as Excalibur grows is fantastic. So I'm up there all the time getting my fertilizer, and I know Joe Pethy and other people who have lived on the road and have passed on as well, who were in the Rare Fruit Council that I was president of. This is fantastic. What you are doing is fantastic. I fully support the staff's recommendation and for the language as well, for the reasons that the attorney has said and the other members of our award-winning staff have stated. I would not want to tie the BCC's hands on anything, but that it's true. And we are an advisory board, so we can advise that this is great, this idea, great wording, staff did a great job. It's going to go to the Board of County Commissioners, and then this residents, I'm sure, will be there speaking, and they can make the decision whether they want to change one or two words that would be different from every other overlay apparently that you worked on. So I would like to keep it the way it is and just support staff. And one thing about this area too, there is this golfing community to the east. And looking at the map, you see where the golf course was placed. It was a lot of green next to this enclave. And the transition is excellent from like the golf course to this rural community. And I really caution about that. Those, I think there's 13 or 16 acres in 3 different parcels up front there. When that comes up to discussion, we need to keep the density down and intensity down on that so that there's a transition. Because remember, in planning, and we're planning commissioners here, the transition and making a tremendous amount of density smack there in between this golf course and a community which would have lower density and this rural enclave, it would not be a really good thing to do. So I just caution you, I ask you that when you're working with that particular application, to really look at the density that will affect the people here. People will love to they come out of their apartments or multifamily housing, love to drive down the road and see the horses, and that does impact the more traffic on Fernley or the Colbright, I think it is, road. That would be really could have deleterious effects on the agricultural facilities there.
Thank you. Barbara?
Thank you, Chair. I'm so delighted to see this. I live nearby. I know the area extremely well, and I know some of you. Professor Grosso, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I'm very familiar with your work and your history in the area. I think it's just good that everybody sees that there's more to Palm Beach County's agricultural richness than the Ag Reserve. Professor Grosso has certainly helped many groups and people in the Ag Reserve, so to see his support here is really very good. I understand staff's concern. We are an advisory board, as the Vice Chair has mentioned, so for those of you who are here, the final decision is always made by those 7 county commissioners. I respect all the language that Professor Grosso has suggested. However, I also respect staff, and I understand your concerns. The one phrase at the beginning, and I just can't accept that because you and some of us in the past, and I'm thinking of Pioneer Road overlay, have used the word encourages. It doesn't mean that we can't do better with a proposal. And I think with changing one word here, we can do better and put a little stronger emphasis on it. Words do matter, as my other commissioners have suggested. So I would suggest the county allows only as opposed to encourages. And if that requires me to make a substitute motion, Mr. Chair, I would do that at this time. With all due respect to staff and to Professor Grosso, I will leave all the other language as it is, but just that lead-off sentence, the county allows only in this case, and I would like to submit a substitute motion with that one change. It says the county encourages the county encourages low residential densities within the rural enclave overlay. I suggest the county allows only low residential.
Mr. Chair, does the
We can make the recommendation, though.
do we have to modify? Can we modify, or do we have to withdraw?
Well, I was
Counsel?
It does. It doesn't. She can just do a substitute motion.
Yeah,
If
go
it's seconded, then it's the main motion on the floor. Now you debate it, and if it fails, then the original motion comes back up.
Do we need discussion, or can someone just second?
Well, hang on.
You second it, then you do discussion.
Right.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. I was reserving my comments for the end, but I want to jump in here for just a second.
So what motion is on the floor, Chair? What are we?
Correct.
So it's the amended motion or the original motion?
We're under discussion. There's been a second, so we're under discussion on the amended motion.
I would like to come back when you finish, Chair, to comment on the amended motion.
So here's my concern, and I respect everyone that came out today. I don't want to speak for my fellow commissioner. I think you've got a strong support up here on the dais. I think that's going to be fairly obvious. And this is the best attendance we've had actually in a meeting in a long time. So you're going to win the battle, and you're going to send a strong message to the BCC that you probably are going to have a very, very strong, if not unanimous, support of this motion, whatever the final form of the motion is. Having said that, you need to convince 5 county commissioners of your preferences here. No small task. It's probably easier to convince 14 of us than it is 5 of them. And having said that, it's a matter of keeping your eye on the ball. And if the language is too tight, it might backfire. I'm just speaking from personal experience and personal thoughts here. So at the end of the day, your message is going to get delivered in all probability at the conclusion of this meeting. But how that language appears may impact your ability to get the 5 votes that you truly need in downtown West Palm. So having said that, we'll go back to Commissioner. Commissioner Sam.
Just observation, and I totally agree with the county attorney the comp plan is a guide. That's a guide. So when you start putting language in there, allow, required, you're tying county hands, you're tying staff hands. Zoning which regulates it. Comp plan guides it. So I'm assuming when they come back and they do the amendments and the residential density and all of that, I know the county's a little different than what I do at the city as for how we regulate stuff. But again, the comp plan is a guide. And I think we should be careful when we start to put allows and require in a comp plan, because you get in the issues. We may be long gone by the time it comes back around, but we tying other people's hands coming back, amending the comp plan to change or encourage or allow to allow what the residential, what the zoning, what it's all going to guide the future development of this area. I mean, the enclave is there. They put the protection in place. You have to have 5 votes. You have to have everything in order to come and change the zone and change the land use in order to allow higher density development. So I would be against anything that's going to basically put that language in a comp plan that allows and requires, because I just feel that's too restrictive for anybody comp plan.
Thank you. Commissioner Sam.
Yeah, if I can just add to it, coming from the zoning side, I can tell you, you're changing the language in this thing. You're going to make the situation, as my fellow commissioner just pointed out, much more difficult for people that have to have at certain times a little latitude in dealing with. The staff needs a little latitude, and as you just pointed out, Chairman, that the county commission is not going to look, my belief, real easy on this thing if we make the language so difficult that they may get shot themselves in the foot. But zoning needs to have some ability to deal with this in the future, as staff does.
Yeah. And we appreciate the fact that you come from the zoning board, so you bring that knowledge and experience to us. We appreciate that.
Can I make a comment since I have made the original? Since I made the original motion, just one thing that I just think that those 2 words allows only makes it even more nebulous. It actually makes it nebulous because there's going to be when an application comes in, there's going to be debate under what's low density. Density in my community is 1 unit per 5 acres. I'd love to see that. but what is low density, what's considered low density, and non-high. So there's going to be debate on, it'll just make things, I think, more nebulous.
Okay,
What, if I might, that
we're getting there.
the low density remains whether you say encourages or allows only. So the low density will always be a subjective determination, but yeah, please go down that way.
Sarah, anything?
Is this one? I actually highly agree with Commissioner Van. Keep in mind, my own town, I'm a land planner. Our comp plan is a guide, and I think you have really, really got the attention of this board. Let us hopefully send you to the BCC where you can make a more of an effort at the language if you prefer. Your voices have been heard. It's amazing. I work in an area where residents are very, very vocal, and we hear you. And if this was to go through and the BCC approves it and you come back, which anything would need to come back to us, we will remember that the environment and the community you're trying to maintain, we're here to support you in that. But I strongly feel that the way it is written is the appropriate language for a comp plan. And when it comes to zoning, that's where you guys can get a little stricter or talk about it later. But I encourage you to let us help you along here and cross this hurdle with the language that staff has written and I personally support.
Ankur?
I do appreciate everybody coming out here and staying as long as we are. We choose to do this. You have to do this. It's important for you guys, so I do appreciate that. I agree with the fact of the importance of this. I also think we're trying to get to the finish line before certain other aspects, like the timing part that was brought in. The easier we make this for the Board of County Commissioners, I think helps everybody in this room. I think we're all in support of what's going on here. I think the question is about language. Again, I agree with what the chair had said and what some of my fellow commissioners had just said about the comp plan is a guiding tool, but the zoning is the one who really looks at it. I think with the idea of what this comp plan is doing, and because there's been precedence already, it's an easier pass because it's a precedence. The moment we start changing the language, I think it creates a lot more problems and it'll become a little bit more difficult going through the BCC as far as an approval goes. And we don't want to, at this point, we don't want to delay the process. I think it's imperative hearing your votes that you want this process to go through as quickly as possible. So I think my support, I support the whole fact. I appreciate every comment that's out there. I also appreciate some of, and we had read very early on, even before I got the packet, Professor Grosso's letter about that. So I am appreciative of all the information that was provided early on. But I think the right strategy here would be to pass the staffs who has looked at this and have seen precedents for this, pass it the way it is and have it go through. That's my thing on it.
Yeah, thank you. Penny?
Well, a lot of what I wanted to say has already been said, but I also want to thank all of the owners that were local that came out to support your feelings, and we definitely appreciate it. Whether we vote yes or no, please understand that we listened and we understand exactly what you're saying. So we do care about you all and about this county in general. But I also support the fact that we cannot tie everybody's hands down to use language like exact. This is a comprehensive plan. This is not a cast in concrete, thou shalt not. That's not what a comprehensive plan is. So for this vehicle, I think that we should support what the staff has recommended. They gave it a lot of thought, no doubt. They spent many hours talking about the wording of this. So I appreciate that effort, and I think we have to go with what they say is best. So thank you. Thanks, staff.
Yeah, listen, I think it's amazing that a community coming together for its, sole purpose of really protecting its community, and we love to see that. I also am, with my fellow commissioners, I believe that we have an obligation to keep what has been precedent going forth, especially with the comprehensive plan. And I would hate for those comprehensive plans in the future and in the past be challenged. So I would speak in opposition to the amended motion and in favor of the original motion.
Dagmar.
Okay. First of all, we're just an advisory board. Those people have a really great lifestyle that they are fighting for very hard. I think it'd be nice if this planning commission, even if the zoning commission and the county commission go against what we're saying, I think that we need to get the word out there. The word encourage and support is so vanilla, it's not going to hold water when... food analogies here. It's not going to hold water when you have these really big developers who pay a lot of money for these representatives to come forward. And right now, the feeling of the county is, and they're looking at it, says right in our backup material, they're proposing 104 townhomes to go right on Fernley and Lantana Road. Do you know how this traffic is going to affect what's going to happen to these people? Even if the zoning commission and the county commission say, no, we're going to stick with what the staff recommends as far as the words encourage and support, I think it'd be kind of nice if we as a commission, the planning commission, say, you know what, we want to put a little bit more power behind these words than just the word support. And as far as LR, low residential, Commissioner Vinegar, I kind of disagree. There's already the titles LR, MR, and HR. I think LR1 and LR2 state already what low residential is, but my problem is we're going, and the developer that's coming in is only asking for LR2, which is the low residential designation. But because of the feeling of the county and, we don't have enough homes in our county and nobody can afford to live here anymore, the political wave is they're going to support the workforce housing and the increased density going from LR2 to LR6. So even if we go down in flames, I think it'd be kind of cool if this planning commission said, you know what, these people need a little bit more support than the word encourage and support. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, commissioners. At this point, I'd like to call the question on the amended, or the substitute motion by Commissioner Roth.
Can we just clarify the substitute motion? So my understanding is it's a motion to approve with an amendment to policy 1.2.8-B to change the word from the county encourages low residential densities to the county allows only low residential densities.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Okay. Precious, roll call, please.
John Carr.
No.
Barbara Roth.
Yes.
Lori Vinegar.
No.
Penny Pompey.
No.
Dagmar Bras.
Yes.
Sam Calindo.
No.
Sarah Pardue.
No.
Kylie Harper Larson.
Yes.
Angela Van.
No.
And Cora Patel.
Yes.
Rick Stopik.
No.
David Searle.
No.
Jay Nisberg.
Yes.
Motion does not pass 5-8.
Okay. Thank you, folks. I appreciate everybody's input and everybody's questions.
Now we need another substitute. Now we need another motion in order to support the...
Well, we have-
No, we have the original
have-
motion.
That's been
We have
out
a
there.
motion on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the original question of the approval of the of item 3A1 as offered earlier and seconded. No further discussion at this point, so may we have a roll call on that, please, Precious?
John Carr.
Yes.
Barbara Roth.
Yes.
Lori Vinegar.
Yes.
Penny Pompey.
Yes.
Dagmar Bras.
Yes.
Sam Calindo.
Yes.
Sarah Pardue.
Yes.
Carly Harper Larson.
Yes.
Angela Van.
Yes.
Ankor Patel.
Yes.
Rick Stopik,
Yes.
David Searle,
Yes.
Jay Nisberg.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much, everyone. So, folks, I hope that the process was acceptable today. We understand and we appreciate your concerns, and I think this is going to send a very loud message to the BCC. I have no doubt, as my fellow commissioners have said, that you'll all be in attendance when that day occurs. The fact that it was a unanimous recommendation of the Planning Commission will hopefully help you guys achieve your goals, and we wish you the best on that. And thank everyone for coming out today in support of the motion. Having no other further agenda items, we'll move forward to any comments from my fellow commissioners. Dagmar.
On March 23rd, we are having a workshop. You are having a workshop regarding the Ag Reserve. And part of this Ag Reserve workshop at 1 o'clock time certain, we are going to be discussing the Brookside property. The Brookside property was purchased with bond referendum money in the Ag Reserve.
Yeah, but
March 23rd, you said.
What is the date?
28th.
Oh,
it's I believe it's the 28th. The 23rd is a BCC zoning
28th.
meeting,
I just want to make sure that.
which you are more than welcome to attend.
Thank you for correcting me with the correct date. The thing is, this is make or break. Make is over, but breaking the Ag Reserve. This is a piece of property that was purchased with bond referendum money. The development rights were stripped off of the piece of property. It was sold for $2 million less to a purchaser who in turn wants to now turn it into essential housing. This is devastating to Palm Beach County. I would like to know the difference and how do we lock in these conservation preservation easements? And I understand it's okay to shift them from one part of the county to the other, but is it possible for us, instead of having, well, I'm really asking what the difference, conservation preservation easement versus declaration of restricted covenants? What is the difference, and can that be applied?
So in my mind, the easement is the declaration of conservation easement is the stronger document, because that is the law professors always talk about bundle of sticks. That the property owners have certain rights, and by getting the conservation easement, the county is getting rights in the property to restrict it to a certain uses, in this case, conservation uses. So the conservation easement, and this conservation easement in this particular case is very restrictive. It prohibits residential development, I believe, in the very first sentence. So as opposed to a declaration of restrictive covenants, which is more of, you transfer ownership, you don't really have an interest in the land, you can just, sometimes the prior owner can get the land back if the declaration is violated. It's just not the same. There's a distinction between the two.
Wow, that was confusing.
Well,
Okay.
it is, yeah.
Anyway. Okay. The thing is, the fact that a county commissioner would even bring this back before the board of county commissioners to be considered, just totally kills my faith in this entire process that we've been going through for the last 30 years. I mean, the fact that there was a piece of property, and I'm repeating myself and I apologize, but I think this is really important. The fact that the bond referendum money, which was put forward by all of us in this room, and the property was sold back to somebody with the development rights stripped off of the piece of property, and this property owner is now coming forward and wanting to, under the word of essential housing, build on this property at 8 units to the acre, stripping the conservation preservation easement. How can this even be possible?
I mean, the board has discretion to release the easement if that's what the board wants. So.
And the last thing is that only requires a 3-4 vote, not even a 5-2 vote, correct?
I am not 100% sure, but it would just be, I think it's just a simple majority vote.
Yeah, sad, a simple majority vote. to undermine what we're paying for and what we've been fighting for 30 years. I'm done. Thank you.
David, any comments? Penny? Okay. Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
None.
No? Barb?
Well,
Well.
my fellow commissioner, Commissioner Bras, I couldn't have said it any better, my dear. Very concerned, and I'm looking right at Professor Grosso because, again, he's done work in this area. This is where not only language matters, but commitment and integrity. You know, we've got language that says one thing, and yet it is, in this case, a simple majority, potentially a 4-3. So those people who are here, and thank you for staying after your issue has been resolved, because we look at this issue of preservation of agriculture, open space, quality of life, and land use in Palm Beach County all over. So yes for your overlay, and yes for the ag reserve and for other areas in Palm Beach County. So please, if you're interested, look into that March 28th BCC workshop. Thank you.
Okay. Go down at the other end. Sam, any comments? Nothing yet? Angela? And okay, nothing. Okay, John?
No, but congratulations on the
thank
new
you.
position, both of you. And thank you. I thought you put me in the hot seat there.
Lori?
No.
Okay, hang on. Well, actually, we're still in the meeting, so unfortunately, can't take any questions from the floor. But sorry.
We were just curious about the people up front. Are we looking at lobbyists, or we're just curious?
No.
We've never been
Okay. It's a bit out of order, but we can address it after the conclusion of the meeting if you want to speak to any of us, if we're still here. I'm happy to speak to you.
No, we are not lobbyists.
No, there are no
We're not
lobbyists.
lobbyists, no. Okay, thank you. Please, ma'am. Okay, any comments from the executive director?
No comments.
Nothing, thank you. And the assistant attorney?
Yeah, no, and I'm not a lobbyist.
Okay.
You sure look like one.
You look like one, right? Yeah. You play one on TV, right? Planning director?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, guys. The only other comments that I have is we'll see everybody on April 14th. In the interim, I wish everyone a very happy Easter, very happy Passover, whichever you celebrate, and entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.